This week, I'm going to lead you through a short and playful practice for the hips. We're going to focus on movements and poses that mobilize the hips, and at the same time, play with some slightly unusual transition to spice up our practice a bit. Let's get started. For this week's practice, a bolster or some kind of a big pillow might be a nice prop. But other than that, we don't really need any props unless blocks are a common part of your practice. And of course, you can have your blocks there with you as well. And then we are going to start today in child's pose. Now you can choose if you go for the wide-legged child's pose, so opening the legs wider apart, or if you want to have your legs closer together. Any easy child's pose where we could spend about 5 to 10 breaths in the beginning of the practice. See if you could lean your head onto something. It could be leaning your head down onto the mat, or you could also bring your hands, your arms under the head. And then give yourself a few slightly deeper breaths in and out. If you feel that there's a lot of tension around the hips, you might gently rock your pelvis from side to side. You can also, of course, still adjust your pose, especially if you feel that there's pain in the knees or pain in the hips. And we'll take a few more breaths in and out. Softening tension that you don't need right now. And as we go through the practice today, just listen to your hips, and if there is a pose or a transition that doesn't feel right in your body, you can always find your own way through the practice. Now I'm suggesting that with your next few breaths, we could inhale and bring ourselves up to sitting. So sitting on the shins, you could bring your legs a bit closer together if they are very wide apart. And then we're going to step left hand behind the pelvis and inhale, lift the pelvis away from the feet, and at the same time reach right arm close to the head, so opening from the right knee to the right arm. Next exhalation, release the pelvis down, change arms the other way around, right hand behind you. And then as you inhale, lift the pelvis up now, left arm reaching close to the head, right hand pressing down. And exhale, release down. Once more to each side, left hand on the mat. And as you inhale, open the front of your pelvis, reach right arm higher up. You could turn your chest up as well. And next exhalation, release down. One more time with right hand on the floor. Inhale, lift the pelvis up, opening through the whole front side. And exhale, releasing down. Now step hands on the mat, so find your way onto all fours. You can adjust your knees to be a bit wider. And now start to circle the weight from hands to knees, knees to hands, focusing on circular movement in the hip joints and also in the shoulder joints. You can also let your spine move. There might be some side bending. There might be some rounding and arching in the spine. And then from an easy place, change the direction of those circles. And let your neck, your head move as well. So making sure we're not blocking the movement at the top of the spine. Couple more circles. And check that you are still breathing as well. And then allow that circling movement to calm down. Now this is a moment where you could bring your bolster or your big cushion under your pelvis, kind of sideways on the mat. We're going to now move the weight forward and then open the front line. So it's like a big cobra, but with that bolster supporting your pelvis, supporting your thighs. And then round your back, moving back into child's pose. You might lean your elbows, your head onto that bolster. And we'll repeat this a few times. So walking hands forward and then open your front side. So again, pelvis or the thighs leaning onto the bolster. And round the spine into child's pose. And you can keep your hands mobile. They can move forward and back. Leaning head down. 2 more times. So the bolster, the pillow there, might make the pose just a bit easier for the back. So we're not going all the way into a deep back bend, but using that support under the pelvis. Again, round your spine into child's pose. Allow head to lean down. We'll do 1 more round. Inhale, moving forward onto your hands. Exhale, open the front line. You might even look higher up. And then once more, round your back into that child's pose. Pelvis leaning back. Breathe in and out there. And then find your way back onto all fours. And now you can move aside, that prop aside, the bolster, the pillow. And then we're going to step left foot forward to hands, but to the outside of the hands. So finding winged dragon pose. Again, you can allow your pelvis to come a bit further down and then rotate your left hip open. Either staying here on 2 hands, or you can bring your left hand onto the left knee or thigh and just help a little bit with a hand to open the hip a bit more. Make sure there's no pain in the knee, there's no pain in the hip joint. But it could be a quite big opening from that left inner thigh all the way to that right hip, front of the right thigh. We'll do another breath here, in and out. And then slowly release that left leg. Bring both hands on the mat. And now bring your left leg to the side of the mat, to the left side of the mat. So you're on your right knee and left leg extended. And here, looking for some opening in that left inner thigh. So you might rock forward and back a couple of times. You can also still adjust where your feet, your legs are. And now you can stay here. If you find a nice opening in that left inner thigh, you are very welcome to stay here. Or we could add a twist, thread the needle with the upper body. So you could leave left hand on the mat and then inhale, reach right elbow up, twisting to the right. And then exhale, slide the right arm under the left arm so that you bring your right shoulder, your head on the mat. And then you could bring your left arm behind the back, reaching left hand to the right hip crease. And take a couple of breaths here, in and out. Make sure you're not collapsing on your neck. So just a bit of activation going on through the shoulders. Take another breath in and out. And then bring your left hand back on the mat. And as you inhale, bring yourself back onto 2 hands. And now we're going to bring that left leg behind us, crossing the left foot over to the right side of the mat. And we're going to bend the left knee behind the right knee. And now we're going to sit back into the shoelace pose. So here, you can adjust where your feet are. If this is painful in the knees or hips, bring your legs to a cross-legged seat. And you choose either keeping your back upright, it might be already plenty enough here for the hips. Or if you want, you could lean forward, so walking hands in front of the legs. You might even round your upper back, your neck, if you want to go even further. But choose a point where you feel that you can breathe and it's not painful around the hips. There could be a big stretch, especially around the buttocks, the thighs. But nothing should hurt you in a way that makes you feel that you're in danger in the pose. So keep yourself safe. Take another breath in and out. Try to soften your shoulders, soften your neck. And then if you are leaning forward, slowly bring your back up. And from here, we're going to transition into the dragon, the winged dragon on the other side. We're going to turn towards the right foot and then step the left foot far back, adjusting your right foot, and bring your left knee down on the mat. You can release the toes and then start to open the right hip, the right foot into that winged dragon. So there's the same pose we already did on the other side. Now either stay on two hands or leave your left hand on the mat, bring right hand on the inside of that right leg, and then help a little bit with that right hand to open the right leg, the right hip even further. Again, be very mindful of sensations around the joints. If there's any pain, any pinching, any sharp sensation around the joints, then don't push too far. So take a step back if you start to feel that the pose is no longer safe. Take another breath or two in and out. You can open the chest. And then slowly bring both hands to the mat. You can close the right hip slightly. And from here, we're going to bring the right leg now out to the right side of the mat. And again, you could rock forward and back a few times. You can still adjust where that right foot is. Maybe you want it to be slightly further forward or maybe further back. And you can rotate that right hip more open or rotate the hip in if that feels better. Then either stay on two hands or we can add the thread, the needle. So if you want, leave your right hand down and then inhale, twist to the left, reaching left elbow up. And then slide your left arm under the right arm. And you could bring your left shoulder, the side of the head on the mat. You can keep your right hand down, or you could bring your right arm behind the back. Reach right hand to the left hip crease. And then keep breathing here. Again, a slight activation through the shoulders so you're not collapsed on your neck. Let's take 2 more breaths in that thread the needle. You can send your breaths all the way down to the hips. And then if you have your right arm behind the back, bring your right hand on the mat and slowly lift yourself onto both hands. Now we're going to slide the right leg behind us and cross it to the left side of the mat or left side of the pelvis. And then bend the right knee behind the left knee and slowly bring ourselves into the shoelace pose on the other side. Again, you can move your feet so that there's space for your pelvis. And then you decide if you want to stay upright. And it might be plenty enough for the hips here. Or you can start to lean forward, maybe step hands a bit further forward. Or you can even round your back, your neck, if that feels good in your body. So find your shape and then focus on breathing all the way down to that pelvic area. Softening the shoulders and the neck as much as possible. Let's take a couple more breaths, and it's okay if the second side feels different. It's very normal that one hip is tighter than the other. And then after those couple of breaths, slowly bring your back up if you've been leaning forward. And now we're going to turn towards the left foot, and we're going to bring hands on the mat and bring weight onto the feet, finding ourselves in a full forward bend. So now bring weight onto your feet. The feet could be quite wide apart, all the way on the edges of the mat. And now let your back lean forward, let your head drop down. You can either extend the legs or you could keep a bend in the knees. And you can rock a bit from side to side. Now we're opening the whole back line from the backs of the legs all the way to the head, all the way to the neck. So the whole back line opening. You can also rock the weight from heels to toes a couple of times. Take another breath in and out. And now for the next transition, it's important that you keep your feet mobile. We're going to slowly lower the pelvis down and come into a squat, into the yogi squat. So you can open the hips, rotate your hips open. You can turn your feet open and find yourself into your squat. Now, if you feel it's really intense, reach for your bolster, your pillow, and bring it under your pelvis. So you're kind of getting a bit of support for the pelvis, and that often makes the pose a bit more manageable. Now in this squat, you can choose to stay in the center, or we can add some twisting. If you want to twist, leave your left hand on the mat, the inside of the arm supporting the left leg to stay rotated open. And then inhale, reach your right arm up so you're twisting out to the right. You can choose to stay in this twist, or now wrap your left arm around the left leg and then reach right hand to your left hand, finding the hands, the fingers together, so creating a bind around that left leg, and then open the chest out to the right. If this bind doesn't feel good, try the open twist with your arms out and open. Take another breath in and out wherever you are. And then exhale, release your twist. Come back to center. If you need to adjust your yogi squat, you can adjust. And then if you want to twist, we'll go to the other side. So first option, leave right arm on the inside of the right leg, right hand on the mat. And then inhale, twist out to the left, reaching the left arm up. Or second option, now wrap your right arm around the right leg and then bend your left arm behind the back, reaching hands together, creating that bind around the right leg and still opening the chest. So we're still twisting out to the left. And breathe. The challenge here is to breathe. It's not an easy pose for the breath. We're doing a lot and restricting some of that space for the breaths. We'll take another breath or two in and out. And then slowly release the twist. Come back to center. Lean, if you have a bolster under the pelvis, lean forward and move that bolster aside. Now we're going to lean pelvis on the mat and keep right foot down, extend the left leg, And step left hand behind you. We're going to inhale, lift into the wild thing, opening the chest. And again here, right arm could reach overhead. And exhale, release the pelvis down, change to the other side. So step your left foot down, step right hand on the mat, and then inhale, reaching up through the left arm, lifting the pelvis up, and then maybe even reaching left arm next to the head. But you're pressing the weight down through the left foot, the right foot, or maybe just the right heel and the right hand. Exhale, release down. Once more to both sides. So change the legs, step left hand down behind you, and inhale, open through the front side. Trying to really open from your pelvis to the belly, to the chest. And exhale, releasing down. Once more, left foot down, extend the right leg, right hand behind you, and inhale, lift up through the pelvis. Right arm very actively pressing down. And exhale, release down. And from here, we're going to roll down onto the back. So now both knees bent, slowly, vertebra by vertebra, roll your back down. And then release your shoulders, your head down. You could rock the legs from side to side a couple of times. We're going to go into a twist. And in that twist, you have an option for the twisted roots legs or eagle legs. If you want, now cross your right thigh on top and around the left thigh, and then bring your both legs to the left side of the mat, opening your chest, finding a twist in the spine. If that crossing, that twisting of the legs doesn't feel good, then you are very welcome to uncross the legs. They could be next to each other rather than twisted around each other. I'm offering this twisting today because it might give you a bit more sensations around the hips, the thighs, the buttocks. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly, slowly draw the belly in, lift your legs back to center. And we're going to change the legs the other way around. So now you could cross your left leg on top and around the right leg. And then exhale, lean legs to the right side of the mat, leaving your chest open, finding that twist. And breathing in and out. And you could send your breaths all the way down to the belly, hip area. Let's take another 2 breaths in and out. And then after those 2 breaths, you can exhale, draw in through the lower belly, lift your legs back to center, release that crossing, that twisting in the legs. Again, you might rock from side to side. And then as our final pose, I'm suggesting a reclining butterfly. If you have your bolster, you could bring the bolster sideways under the legs and then open legs into that butterfly. Or you might do this without any props, just bringing knees out to the sides, turning soles of the feet towards each other. If you want, you can bring arms higher up, so a similar shape in the arms. If the butterfly doesn't feel good, you can release your legs into Shavasana pose at any point. But this will be our final pose. We're going to spend here a couple of minutes. Allow your shoulders to soften. Allow your back to soften. Allow your hips to soften. So even if you are in the butterfly shape, try to make this a soft butterfly. So it's not an active rotation in the hips, but just letting your legs sink and relax into that pose, trying to find release and ease around the hips in this final pose. Also release your jaw. Notice if you're biting your teeth together. And give yourself another 5 to 10 breaths in and out. Remember, you might release the legs into Shavasana at any point. And towards the end of those 5 to 10 breaths, let your breath deepen slightly. Take a couple of bigger breaths in and out. And then bring some gentle movement to your hands, your feet. Slowly extend your legs from that butterfly shape and reach your hands and feet away from each other, extending your whole body. And then with your next few breaths, from your back, roll onto one side, either the left or the right side, and bring yourself up into a seat. Find any easy seat where you feel you can leave your hips soft. Take a few breaths in and out, slowly closing your practice. And if it's a part of your practice, you might bring your palms together in front of the chest. And as always, at the end of the practice, thank yourself for taking the time to look after yourself today. And I thank you very much for joining in. Namaste. Thank you.